Napoleon Bonaparte conquered Europe unlike anybody before him, but not for the reason most people think. During his final exile on St. Helena, Napoleon reflected deeply on his campaigns. One insight, recorded and echoed by those around him, stands out clearly. He spent far more time thinking about defeat than about easy victory. Ralph Waldo Emerson, in his study of the emperor, observed that Napoleon's power came from an obsessive realism. Emerson noted that before he fought a battle, Bonaparte thought little about what he should do in case of success, but a great deal about what he should do in case of a reverse of fortune. At first, this sounds defensive. It wasn't. It was his greatest offensive weapon. Napoleon didn't gamble on battlefields. He prepared so thoroughly that when crisis hit, he wasn't reacting. He was executing plans already tested in his mind. Opponents often felt they were playing catch up to a future Napoleon had already settled. So, how did one man stay so consistently ahead? And why did that same habit eventually lead to his downfall? Let's break it down. Napoleon did not look like a reckless gambler. He was calm, deliberate, rarely rushed, rarely visibly unsure. Eyewitnesses noticed something unusual, unsettling. In moments of crisis, he didn't scramble for decisions. He made them instantly, as if the options had already been chosen. This wasn't luck, and it wasn't raw instinct. It came from preparation so deep that nothing felt entirely new. Let's examine his greatest victories. On the night of December 1st to 2nd, Napoleon paced his tent near Austerlitz. Accounts from aides describe him studying the terrain repeatedly, mentally tracing ridges, valleys, and troop positions. He anticipated the Allied descent from the Pratzen Heights. He expected the morning fog to lift. He predicted an attack on his apparently weak right flank. So he prepared a deception. Invite the attack, draw them forward, strike the exposed center. Dawn broke. Events unfolded almost exactly as anticipated. The Allies took the bait. The center collapsed. What looked like brilliance was execution of a plan already decided. Marengo began as a near defeat. Before the battle, Napoleon spent hours studying the Bormida River crossings and Austrian options. Crucially, he did not imagine only success. He anticipated delays, confusion, even retreat. By midday, the French army was faltering. But Napoleon did not panic. He held key ground. He waited. He timed everything around the arrival of General Louis Desaix's reinforcements within a window he had already calculated. When the counterattack came, it reversed disaster into victory. Later, Napoleon would imply, according to aides' recollections, that much of the battle had been decided before the first shot was fired. Ulm reveals the pattern at its highest level. Here, Napoleon did not prepare a battle. He prepared an entire campaign. Weeks in advance, he issued orders assuming precise marches, river crossings, and full encirclement of the Austrian army. His marshals were not improvising. They were executing a design already mapped out. The result? The Austrian army surrendered with barely a major battle. One of history's greatest victories, won largely on paper and in the mind first. Only later did Napoleon explain what we've been watching. In conversations recorded on St. Helena by aides such as Emmanuel de las Casas, Napoleon described how he had already fought his battles mentally before they were fought on the ground. This wasn't a metaphor, it was his method. Napoleon further described that surprise was merely the result of a general failing to think through the enemy's options. He didn't just plan for plan A, he had a mental library of responses B, C, and D. This was his secret weapon. Napoleon rehearsed the future relentlessly. If you watched our deep dive into Napoleon's daily insane routine, you already saw the structure. What you're seeing now is what that routine was built to support. This habit gave Napoleon 3 decisive advantages. First, speed without panic. Napoleon moved fast, not because he rushed, but because he had already decided. One of his authentic military maxims expresses it clearly. The art of war is to gain time when one is inferior and to use it decisively when one is superior. Preparation removed hesitation. What looked like instinct was preparation realized. Napoleon's second advantage: calm under pressure. Because Napoleon had already imagined failure, real setbacks rarely shocked him. Chaos didn't paralyze him. He selected from scenarios already tested in his mind. His third advantage: psychological edge. Contemporaries felt it, as later recalled by close observers. Napoleon consistently behaved as if he were several steps ahead. His opponents felt they were fighting a man who could see through time. This aura of invincibility often caused enemy commanders to hesitate at the very moment they needed to act. But no habit is perfect. The Russia campaign proved that. At Borodino, Napoleon expected a familiar pattern: a decisive battle near the border, a collapse of the enemy army, and a signed treaty. But the Russians refused to follow his script. They retreated deeper into their own territory, trading space for time. The Russians took horrific losses and refused to break. Field Marshal Kutuzov, the Russian commander-in-chief, withdrew in good order. Later, Napoleon admitted that the battle had not unfolded as he had expected. His model assumed an enemy that would collapse. Russia did not. Napoleon planned winter. He planned retreat. But he did not plan for emptiness. The winter came earlier, harsher, and unrelenting. Mental rehearsal relies on patterns. He expected to live off villages, depots, and captured supplies. Instead, the Russians burned their own villages and even their capital, Moscow, to deny him supplies. As later observers noted, he had not foreseen a nation willing to destroy itself to deny him victory. Napoleon's greatness was not accidental, it was rehearsed. Long before soldiers marched, long before cannons fired, he had already lived the moment that others were about to enter. That habit made him unstoppable. It allowed him to move faster, stay calmer, and see further than anyone around him. But it also revealed its limits. In Russia, Napoleon discovered something no amount of preparation can eliminate: a world that refuses to behave according to expectation, an enemy that would not collapse, a land that would destroy itself, a winter that arrived without asking permission. Even the sharpest mind cannot fully rehearse reality. Napoleon once reflected that he had always lived in the future. That habit built an empire, and it reminds us of a harder truth. Preparation creates advantage, but humility is what sustains it. The future belongs to those who prepare for it, but it humbles those who believe they already own it. Napoleon mastered preparation, but even he couldn't master the future. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.